excited to introduce our esteemed speaker, Teralyn Rose. Teralyn's a certified financial coach and counselor at California Coast Credit Union. She's been with the credit union since January of 2001 and worked many positions in the branches as a teller to assistant manager. In August of 2008, she was hired as the first financial coach for Cal Coast and was instrumental in creating and implementing the current program we have today. She received her financial counseling certification at the end of 2009 and currently helps members with personal financial management, including controlling cash flow, analyzing spending, reviewing payroll statements, and managing both credit and debt. She assists members in creating awareness of financial habits, developing workable solutions, and implementing a reasonable plan of action to reach their financial goals. Teralyn, take it away.
So excited to share so many great tools. We have a really long title. It didn't fit on my title page, so we're just calling it credit. We're going to talk about all the different ways to understand the terms. You have to understand some of the terminology first. We're going to go over some of the terminology involved with credit. And then we're also going to talk about, give you kind of understanding what's going on with that credit score, just a brief history of that one, and then going on to how to clean up any credit, and then how to continue building credit, maintaining credit, and protect yourself in the future. So I got a quick pop question for you guys, just starting off right off the bat with your, happy Wednesday trivia time. The main credit bureau that lenders use is VantageScore. Is this true or false? So in the chat, if you can just throw that in, do you think the main credit bureau that lenders use is VantageScore? Is that true or is this false? You want to go in and just right off the bat talk about this really quickly, because there's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of terms flying around. Kind of want to clarify some of that. Paul's got it. False. FICO is the main credit bureau. And this is kind of a trick question, you guys, because VantageScore isn't even a credit bureau. VantageScore is a scoring system that lenders use to give you a credit score. The credit bureaus, there are three main credit bureaus that lenders are looking at. We're going to look at Equifax, TransUnion, or Experian. These are three companies that all do the same thing. They collect information from different sources, they put it on a nice, neat report, and then they sell that back to lenders, okay? So you never know which report is going to be used. These are the main credit bureaus that collect the company. Lenders are going to use one of them typically. If you apply at California Coast Credit Union, we are going to use the Experian credit report from that Experian credit bureau. We're not looking at Equifax or TransUnion if you're applying for a car loan or a credit card or a personal loan. So you want to understand what's on all three of them though, because you never know which one is going to be used. Landlords like to use TransUnion, so you want to know what's on TransUnion. Equifax is kind of going by the wayside, but when you're applying for a mortgage right now, we do pull all three because we know that lenders don't report to all three of these credit bureaus. There's no law that says we have to. So you might have information that's showing up on just Equifax and not showing up on TransUnion or Experian. So as a lender, before I give you $800,000 to buy a house in San Diego, maybe $1 million, I want to look at the biggest picture of what you've borrowed. And that's what these are just data collecting companies. They put it on a nice, neat report and sell it back to us lenders. So those are the three main credit bureaus. Talk a little bit about the credit history, also known as a credit report. So those credit bureaus collect the information and put it on a nice, neat credit report that has a kind of breakdown of all the debts, money that you borrowed, money that you owe. And these are some of the information. It's a record of how you handled money that you borrowed or money that you owed in the past. So it's going to look at credit card accounts. It's going to look at car loans, mortgage loans, student loans, personal loans, making sure you make your payments on time. We get a record of that, showing the amount that you owe right now, how many inquiries you've done in the past 2 years. If you have any collection accounts, bankruptcies, we're looking at the available. We're looking at a lot of history. Again, money that you borrowed, money that you owe gets put on this nice, neat credit report, also called the credit history, okay? And then lenders are going to use that information. We're going to get a scoring system like VantageScore. Most of us use FICO, and we're going to apply that to that report that we are purchasing. So it's a combination when you're looking at that credit score system. The credit score is basically the level of risk that we as a lender are taking if I loan money to you. We're going to pull one of those reports. We're going to get a scoring system and apply it to that report. And that personal credit score that you get is what's going to drive the rate that you get. So this is all for us lenders. It affects a lot of the things that you do, but it's really for us. What's the risk that if I loan money to you, I am going to get my money back as a lender? This credit score is your grade on how you've handled those debts in the past. And we use that to make some estimations on how you're going to handle the debt that you're getting from me when you apply. And if you have some poor things going on there, you have a lower score, I have a greater risk, right? So these are some of the ranges, and this is the FICO score range. There are different ranges for different scoring systems, but most lenders do use the FICO scoring system on whatever report that we're pulling. So this is the range that CalCoast uses. This is what we've established. This is a generalization. There are other ranges that can vary from lender to lender, right? And you might have a lender who only has 5 of these categories. Maybe they've combined the average and the very good into one, or they just, 50 for each one. It varies, right? And so whatever your rate is based on how you've handled those debts in the past, that's going to affect the rate that you get on the loan. This is called risk-based pricing, right? The higher score you have, the better chance I am going to have that you're going to pay me back. Based on what you've done in the past, you've shown that level of responsibility. I'm going to feel more confident that if I loan money to you as a lender, I'm going to get that back. So I have a lower risk. I'm going to reward that borrower because I'm going to get my money back by giving you a better rate. If you have a low score, I have a higher risk that you might walk away from my loan, or you might be late and I have to make calls and I have to chase you down and I've got to send letters out. So those are all costing me as a lender, as a person, business, you're costing me when you do that. So the lower scores, higher risk, higher rates. And I want you to understand the difference that it can make, So this is 2 different borrowers for 2 different credit scores. So 750 and above is considered with CalCoast, the A+. You're getting the best rates on everything. 750 to 850 is you're getting the same best rate that you can. This is on a car loan right now. Yes, rates have gone up quite a bit in the past few years, but this is the same car loan. John has a 620 credit score, is paying 10.38%. We're charging him a little bit higher interest because he's had a couple dings on his credit. Jane's got 750. She's doing excellent. I'm going to reward her with a 6.38%. John's payment is 498. Jane's is 450. Over the life of the loan, John is going to pay 32,914 compared to Jane's 29,706. That is a savings of $3,207. In the chat, what could you do with $3,207? I just spent a week in Turks and Caicos playing volleyball with pros for about that much. I would much rather play volleyball in Turks and Caicos than pay for having a low credit score. So just understanding what that score is, what the history is, who the reports are, that's going to help you understand what we're looking at as lenders. Now we're going to do a little quick breakdown of what's going into the credit score, and we're going to spend a lot of time here, but I do want to make sure you understand what's going on so you understand why I make the recommendations that I make. So have another pop quiz for you in the chat. Throw down, do you think that too many addresses on your report hurts your score? Is that true or is that false? Too many addresses on my report hurts my score. And this just goes to the misunderstandings that are out there because everybody thinks I always have someone. There's always, yeah, we have a couple of answers in there. Awesome, thank you for typing in the chat and participating. So too many addresses does not hurt your score. That is false. Thank goodness, because I've moved pretty much every 2 years in my entire life. If they looked at that list of addresses and that actually affected your score, then I would be in trouble. Now, it can impact lending decisions, right? This credit score is just one part of a decision that we as lenders make. That is something that as a lender, I would look at, like if you've got a different address every 2 years, it's not cheap to move. And maybe you're changing your business, like what's causing the move, because that can impact your finances. That could impact a decision, but it doesn't impact the score. I'm going to do this breakdown really fast. I'm going to skim over this. If you're interested in going into more of the details and the nitty-gritty details of what's going on with the credit score, we do have a credit scores webinar that we have recorded on our CalCoast YouTube page. Go check that out. Lots of great information going into the details. But I do want to break this down for you guys so that when we get to the cleaning up credit and maintaining, you understand why I'm making those recommendations, right? So this is the breakdown. Payment history is the most important part of your score. It is 35%. We are 30% is balances that you owe, 15% how long you own credit, 10% is new credit and increase, and then variety of debt is the last 10%. Again, I'm going to go really fast through here, so I apologize if you're wanting to start writing notes down, but you will get a copy of this, and I'm happy to send you the notes on this as well. So 35% payment history, this is basically, do you make your payment on time? Yes or no. The amount of the payment in this category does not impact you. We're looking at just what you've done within the past 2 years, and the most recent history affects you the most, right? So if I'm trying to build my credit score, I'm going to have multiple payments on multiple loans. I have 3 credit cards. I want to charge $1.99 to one, have my Netflix charge to a second, use my third for gas and groceries. I always have 3 payments being reported. That's going to help build my score because I have more payments going to the credit bureaus. The month before I bought my car a few years ago, I have 10 credit cards that I only use once a year to maintain my history on those ones. I went and used all 10 of those credit cards for a $5 purchase. And my score went up 20 points because I had 10 payments reported the next month and I paid them off completely. So more payments, more points. This is why if you only have 1 credit card or 1 loan, it's really hard to build a high credit score because there's not a lot of information for a lender to look at when they're making a decision on whatever loan you're applying for, right? So more payments, more points, more recent payments is going to help your score even more. Balances is 30% of your score, almost as important as payment history. And we're looking at your overall balances as well as the balance to limit ratios on your credit cards. So if you've got 20 credit cards and they all have balances, and you've got 10 student loans, and you've got a car loan, and you've got a mortgage, and you've got a personal loan, lenders are going to be like, okay, that's a lot. You're living on your credit. We're going to hold back and try to not give you anything new until you pay some of that off. And then the other big part is the balance to limit ratio on credit cards. If you have balances that are higher than 30% on an individual credit card, that one debt is costing you 15 to 20 points. As soon as you pay it down below that 30% balance to limit ratio, so on a $1,000 limit, I bring that down below 30 to 300, I'm going to get 15 to 20 points back in my credit score. For every credit card that you have that is higher than that 30% balance to limit ratio, right? So really important to don't charge more than 30% or just be aware of how that impacts you. And the big part here is understanding that the reporting date, which is not the same as the due date, which is not the same as your statement cycling date, the reporting date is when the lenders report our balances and payments to the credit bureaus. That's what's impacting your score. So if you have a credit card with us, all of our credit cards are due on the 25th. We report on the 1st. So if I pay it off in full on the 25th, I have to make sure I don't use that credit card again until that zero balance reports on the 1st. And every lender has a different reporting date. So if you go, I'm going to show you where to get a free copy. Look at when your credit cards report. Get a little black Sharpie on the front of your credit card, write down the due date / the reporting date so that you always know when that lender is going to report, because it's going to be for the next 30 days. You might have paid your car loan off yesterday. You're going to go try and buy a car a week. It's not going to be reported as paid off yet because we only report 1 day a month. Okay, so understanding how the balances impact you. Length of credit history is how long you've had credit. We're looking at your oldest trade line or account, as well as your average length of credit history. So this is where you hear don't close your oldest credit card, because I have a JCPenney credit card I've had for 25 years. If I closed it today, we only keep 10 years worth of positive information on the credit bureau. So in 10 years, that will fall off my credit reports and nobody will ever see it again. And I will lose 35 years worth of history. That's 15% of my credit score. I don't want that JCPenney credit card to ever close. I'm like hanging on the edge of my seat waiting for them to file bankruptcy because they've been teetering on the edge. And that's my oldest credit card. I really don't want them to close. So I make sure that I go use them at least once a year to keep that account open. And the other thing we're looking at is the average. If I open a lot of loans in a short period of time, my average length of credit history will also shorten, and that does impact you in this 15% category, okay? New credit, we are going into hard hits when you apply for a loan and the lender is pulling a copy of the report to look at. That credit bureau, Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax, keeps a record of that hard hit request, and that will impact your score for the next 12 months. Every hard hit request is costing that credit bureau, that score, 3 to 5 points when you apply. Because, and then if you have more than 3 and 6 months, or more than 6 and 12 months, you lose more points, because it's a red flag for me as a lender. If you just applied for 10 credit cards in the past 10 months, I mean, like, that's a lot of new debt to have in a short period of time. You could go on a shopping spree tomorrow, charge them all up, and then go to Tahiti. We're not going to be able to get that money back. I want to see how you handle the new debt before I give you more, right? So a lot of hard hits is a little red flag for us. Exceptions for car and mortgage requests. If you're looking for a car and you send it out to 10 different lenders to get a good rate, we know you're not trying to buy 10 cars. We get that. So that's going to count as 1 in this 3 and 6, 6 and 12 additional. You're still losing 3 to 5 points though for each request. So we recommend get a pre-approval from your lender. Take that with you. Don't let the dealerships run your credit, because it is going to impact 3 to 5 points. Soft hits, you can look at your own credit 20 times a day. It doesn't impact you. It's only when a lender or someone is pulling your full report to look at to give you something. I know I'm going through this fast. Again, go to our YouTube page for the full details. Last little is variety. We want to see how you handle more than just a car loan, more than just a credit card. If you just have one loan, again, that doesn't give me a lot of information as a lender to base that decision on. So I want to see how you handle a car loan that has a bigger loan payment and a credit card that's unsecured by any kind of collateral. We're also looking at who you borrow from, high-risk lenders. If I'm looking at my long-term credit health, then I don't want to borrow from high-risk lenders. That is what the people like Credit One. Credit One is a high-risk lender. When you file bankruptcy, Credit One will reach out to you the next month and say, we'll give you a credit card for a $100 annual fee at 29.99%. They'll be happy to give you that and get the money from you to rebuild your credit, right? If you borrow from a high-risk lender, it's because you are a risk. And that's what your credit score is all about. So high-risk lenders on your report are not going to get as many points as if you borrow from reputable lenders. That is the only time that I will tell people to close their oldest credit card is if it's with a high-risk lender. We're going to get you some good reputable lenders. Close that one out so we can work on that long-term credit health, which is what today's topic is all about, okay? So I want first step now to start building that credit score, start building and maintaining, is we need to know what is on the reports. These are the two sources that I use. Credit Karma, these are both free. Credit Karma will give you a free Equifax and a free TransUnion report. They will also give you a score, but it's the Vantage score. Remember that other scoring system that we teased you with at the beginning? The Vantage score is not the scoring system that most lenders use. FICO score is what 90 to 95% of lenders use. So we are going to use the credit report, and we're going to buy the FICO scoring system and apply that. So the score that you see on Credit Karma is not the score that lenders are using. However, Credit Karma refreshes the information every single day. So if I have 30 credit cards with 30 different lenders and they all report on different days, I could have a different score every day. But if I'm with Experian, I'm only going to refresh it every 7 days. It's not going to be as accurate. Credit Karma allows you to see how your actions are impacting your score in real time. So you can see, and it'll show you when that lender reports right underneath the name of the lender. You're going to find balance updated, balance reported, balance as of, balance on. That day is when that lender reports. And that's what you want to pay attention to when it comes to your credit score. So I highly recommend you guys all download these. You can have an app on your phone or a tablet. You can go into the website on your computer, completely free. If they're asking you for a credit card, you're in the wrong place, go back. These are completely free. Experian is, again, the report that most lenders out here use. So I want to make sure that I have the Experian one. It does give me a FICO score. However, it's an older model. So FICO comes out with new models every 4 to 5 years. We as lenders have to buy the new model to use the new features. FICO 8 is an old model. FICO 9 came out in 2014. So it's like 10 years. The score that you see on Experian is a FICO 8. So it's older than 10 years. So it's not going to be as accurate. If you want to see your FICO 9, you actually have to go in it and pay for it right now. So I love these resources. Look at what's on the report. Now we're going to go into how to repair, how to fix, how to update, how to maintain, right? So go directly to the credit bureau's website to dispute anything that you don't recognize. You pull the report and you're like, oh, I don't have this line. This isn't mine. Someone's information got mixed up with yours. There's actually a lot of errors on a lot of credit reports. So I do recommend, even if you don't feel like you need to worry, you have a great score, you don't need to worry about this, go pull it and see that everything on there is accurate. And if there's anything that you don't recognize, dispute it. The credit bureaus have 30 days to do that investigation. And then if they come back and it's not accurate, it'll be deleted and you'll have a more accurate credit report for lenders to look at, right? You do have to go to each individual credit bureau's site, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. They are competitors. They don't talk to each other. So you can't dispute one and have it go to the other. You have to do on each individual website, okay? Maybe we had a couple of delinquent marks. Maybe you were late 30 days. Maybe you moved and you didn't get the statement and you forgot about it because you were moving and you got this 30-day past due on your credit report. The tough thing about that is it hurts your score for 2 years. You bring it current, but it will be affecting your score for 2 years and it stays on the report for 7 years. So lenders are going to see it for 7 years and it can impact lending decisions. Even though it's not hurting you after 2 years, I'm going to look at this. And 5 years ago, you had a bunch of late payments. I want to know what happened before I give you any more money to make sure that whatever happened then is not going to happen to me, right? So first thing, derogatory. If it's past due right now, it is hurting you. One 30-day past due on a 700 credit score is going to lose you 40 points. And it will take 2 years of regular on-time payments to get those points back. So you have to bring it current. That's the number one thing. You can't start healing until you bring past due accounts current. Reach out to the lender. I'm sure they can help you. We usually have some type of program in place to help you bring those accounts current. So reach out to the lenders if you need trouble, if you need assistance. If you have late payments and you've made 6 payments on time, you can actually write a letter and ask if they'll remove that late payment. I've actually been able to do this once. My daughter used my Amazon account and used my Amazon store card instead of my Amazon rewards credit card. And I had moved and hadn't updated my address and hadn't updated my email address. So I didn't know about it until my score dropped 70 points from one late payment. That was $30. I lost 70 points for $30. So I wrote them a letter immediately, paid it off. I'm like, hey, here's what happened. Can you guys please, this isn't an indication of how I've handled my debt. I've been with you guys for years. They said, sorry, it's a black and white history of how your debt's been handled. We don't make any changes unless it's an error. I'm like, okay, I know how this game is played. I charged something, paid it off the next month. The next month after, I charged something, I paid 6 months. I used that credit card every month and paid it off in full. And then I sent the same letter, please remove this. It's not an indication of how I handle my debt. And they said, thank you, Bracy, for being such a valued customer. We appreciate you as a customer. We'll go ahead and remove it. And I got my 70 points back. So write a letter. The answer is always no. If you don't ask, might as well ask, right? Charged off accounts. So this is, it went 30 days past due, 60 days past due, 90 days past due, 120 days past due, 150, we give up as a lender. We're like, we're not getting the money back. We're just going to charge it off and take it as a loss. And this is my debt. I haven't sold it to a third-party collection account yet. These are the only 4 things that you can do if it's with the lender still. If they haven't sold it to a third party, you can pay the amount in full. That's going to help you the most. The lender doesn't take a loss, right? You can let it go. And it will fall off the report after 7 years. It will hurt you and your score for the entire 7 years. After 7 years, it drops off. You'll get your points back. It doesn't mean that you don't still owe the money. The lender can still call you. They can still send letters. They can still make attempts to collect this for the rest of your life. They just can't put it on the report after 7 years. And they can't sue you after 4 years. So a lot of people just let it go and deal with it and just don't pay it. They can call you for the rest of your life. It's very irritating. So I would go into one of the other options. You can settle the debt. I owe 1,000. I don't have 1,000. Hey, I can pay $400. Will you guys take that as a settlement? They'll come back, we'll take 600. Okay, and you can settle the debt and then you will start healing. You're not going to get as many points for that as if you paid it off in full, but you pay it, you settle it, and it starts healing. And after 2 years, it doesn't impact your score. Again, falls off after 7 years. Okay. One thing that I want you guys to be aware of is if the amount that is forgiven is higher than $600. So say you owed 5,000, they accepted 4,000 as a settlement, and they just basically gave you that other $1,000. The IRS considers that as income. So that company has to report that to the IRS as income. It will be added to your gross annual income. You will have to pay whatever your tax bracket is on any amount that is forgiven that is higher than $600. So just be aware of that if you're settling it. The last step, I can set up a payment plan. I can say, okay, I don't have $5,000, but I can pay you $200 a month for the next 3 years. And they can accept that. They can't change the reporting to the credit bureaus until you pay your final payment. So this delays how quickly you can recover with your score, because it is going to be a charge off the entire time that you're making those payments until you make that final agreed upon payment. So it kind of delays that. Those are the only 4 options. Say they sold to a third-party collection. This is the next step. And these are actually, you have a greater chance of getting this off the report. So step 1, I want to write a letter to that collection company. If you have the Credit Karma or the Experian, it's going to give you the contact information and you can go write them a letter. I have templates for all of these letters I'm talking about. So just email me, I'll send them to you. Request validation proof of debt from that open collection account. Send it via certified letter, and you're saying, hey, I'm just seeing that you send me the information. What's the original amount? Who do I owe? How much is the total? Show me a breakdown and show me that you have a license to collect in my state. They are required by law to respond to you within 30 days. If they do not, so this is going, if they do not respond to you within 30 days, you're going to go on there to each of the credit bureaus that are showing that collection and say, dispute the account, saying, I requested proof of debt using a certified letter on March 14, 2024. It's been 30 days, the company did not comply. Please delete per my rights as a consumer. Just copy and paste this in there. Wait 30 days, it will be deleted from your account. Again, doesn't mean that you don't owe it necessarily, but they can't report it if they don't respond to you, right? If they do respond to you and say, here's all the proof that you asked for, you're going to write back and say, oh, thank you very much. I've got this other settle and delete. If I pay this amount, will you agree to remove this from my credit report? And that's the part that we've got 2 opportunities to get this off the credit report. One, requesting proof of debt. There's one chance. Here, I can settle and delete. They don't have to. This is a black and white history of how your debt's been handled, but the answer is always no if you don't ask, right? So send a certified letter, get it in writing, either email or something on paper that they'll accept that settlement as payment in full, and they'll delete it and then pay them, and it will be off the report, and that will help you. Now, if they don't agree to remove it, you still want to pay it because it will impact you the entire 7 years from the time it first went delinquent with the original lender. And with the newer FICO models, the paid collection account stops hurting you right away. So if you want to buy a house in a year, this you want to get taken care of and get it paid or deleted. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go back to this question. If a delinquent debt is older than 7 years, I don't have to pay that. Is this true or false? Is that if a delinquent debt is older than 7 years, I don't have to pay it? True or false? So this is kind of a trick question because trade lines are going to be on the report for 7 years from the time it first went 30 days past due. And it will fall off my report after 7 years. The lender cannot report it again to the credit bureaus. However, it still can be collected. They can still call you, right? They can still send you letters. So if you don't have to pay it, it won't be on the credit score, it won't be affecting the credit score. But if it is a delinquent debt and you owe it, they can contact you for the rest of your life, and that's irritating. So we recommend taking one of those methods of settling that. Okay, building credit. Now that we understand how the score is impacted and we're creating positive history and we've gotten rid of all the negative, now we need to create positive payment history to replace that other stuff, to create more recent, because I want lenders to look at what I'm doing today. Yeah, I made some mistakes in the past, but you know what? That's old history. Here's what I'm doing today. I am a responsible borrower. If I borrow money from you, you're going to get it back. We're trying to show that positive history. So we want to go ahead and create, either with credit cards, a share secured loan, having a car loan, that helps. Bidding authorized user on someone else's card, that information gets on your report as well. If you have Experian Boost, I don't know if you guys have heard of that. It is a free service. Now, normally credit reports only show money that you borrowed or money that you owe. Experian has a free service that if you go to their website and you allow them to scan the account for the whatever line you pay your utilities, your cell phone, your SDG&E, your water bill, any streaming services that you have, you've got water, SDG&E, if you've got Hulu, Netflix, Disney, Experian will take those payments and put it on your Experian report, and that will help your Experian score about 2 to 3 points for each one that you have. And it's instantaneous and it's free. So even though that's not money that you borrowed, it's a service that you're paying for, Experian allows you to sign up for their free account to kind of bulk up that payment history that you have. And that positive history can impact your Experian score. Pay your bills on time every single month. Don't be late. Whatever you got to do, borrow the money, sell something, reach out, whatever you got to do. Don't be late, because it does take a long time to recover. Never charge more than 30%. If you never charge more than 30%, you don't have to worry about losing 15 to 20 points on each of those accounts. There's also a misconception here that I want to touch on, that people think they have to carry balances of 30% on their credit cards. Any balance at all is bringing you down. Any $5 balance on a 10,000 limit, you're losing a couple of points. Any balance that gets reported means you charged more than you could afford to pay off and you're living beyond your income. So any balance at all impacts you. Ideally, I want to use my credit card and I want to pay it off in full every single month. That's payment history 35%, balance is 30%. The longer I do it, the longer my history grows. That's 15%. So 80% of my score is impacted by me using and paying off credit cards. Have your Netflix charged to one credit card, pay it off in full. Have your cell phone charged to a second, pay that off in full. Have your $1.99 Google storage charged to a third credit card, pay it off in full. Use a fourth one for gas and groceries, pay it off in full. I have 4 payments reported. That's payment history. 0 balance because I paid off in full. That's balances. And the longer I have that account, the longer my score will grow, that 15%. Use my open credit cards at least once every 6 months. Again, if I pay off a credit card and I stop using it, my payment history gets older and older every month and your score will go down. So you want to use those open credit cards at least once every 6 months. 1, to keep that payment history current, more recent, and 2, if I don't use it in 2 years, that lender is going to say, okay, I've been giving you access to my $5,000. You're not using it. I'm going to close that account and give it to someone over here who will use my $5,000 and pay me 26.99% interest. So if you don't have any activity in 2 years, they'll close it due to inactivity, right? And I want to keep that long account open. Don't close out the credit cards you've had the longest. We want to keep that length of history growing. Okay, so that's really important, is using paying off, keep those accounts open and growing. Okay. I talked fast. Did I get us done in 40 minutes? I did. And I know there's always a ton of questions here. I wanted to make sure I got everything out there. Again, more details on how the credit score is impacted. We go into a lot more details on the credit scores. Go to our YouTube page. Couple of things there's a in the chat. Will this recording be sent out to those who came to the webinar after via email? Will, does it send it automatically? Oh, Will's still here.
Yeah, we're gonna send a link to our YouTube channel.
Awesome. How to see when the reporting date is. So if you go to Credit Karma and you pull up the accounts, so on Credit Karma, you tap on the score on your phone, and then you go scroll down, you'll see a link that view full credit report. Tap on that, it's gonna pull up all the accounts, and right underneath the name of the lender, you're gonna see balance updated or balance reported. That's the day that the lender reports the information. That's such an important date. That is probably the most important thing that I tell people when I do my one-on-one credit reviews is understanding when that lender reports, because that I had some guy, it was due on the 5th, but they didn't report till the 25th. So he kept using it for his business and the balance was always higher than 30% when it got reported. He made another payment right before it reported. He got a zero balance, his score went up 40 points. So it's a stupid little thing that makes a huge difference, is knowing when those lenders report.
Carolyn, you ready for some questions in the Q&A? All right, well, let's get started with that. But before we dive into those questions, I wanted to introduce our business development manager, Andres de la Mora, to say a few words.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining the webinar. If you have any questions regarding any products or services that we offer, feel free to put it in the chat, and I will put my contact information that you can contact me at any time, email, text message, phone, call me. Anytime you want to reach me, I'm here to help. Thank you so much for joining the webinar.
Thanks, Andres. Okay, so let's dive into these questions. And again, if you have a question, please utilize the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen so that we can get those questions answered for you. The first question is, I use 2 to 3 cards a month that I pay in full every month. How can I increase my credit score?
I would keep doing that. That's pretty much it. If you're using them every month, that's just going to grow that length of history, grow the payment history, and make sure you have a zero balance the day before it reports. That's the biggest thing. Find out when it reports. Keep doing that. You can have a 750 and above credit score with 3 credit cards if you just keep doing that. And it's just time in that instance. And then the only other thing would be if I want to do it more quickly, I could do a signature loan, so a variety of debt, having more than just a car loan or more than just a credit card or credit cards, which is revolving. If I do a personal loan for $1,000 for a year, that's going to give me another type of payment history besides revolving unsecured. Car loans impact that. So if you want to use your car title as collateral, do $1,000 for a year. That's a strategy, and car loan rates are typically a lot lower than anything else. So that's another way, just more payments, making sure you have that zero balance on the credit cards the day before it reports, and just keep doing that. Sorry.
You're absolutely right. It's a function of time, right? Just keep doing what you're doing. Another question, actually, it's a follow-up. What about when the credit card company tells you that they're going to close the account because you're not using it?
That you go use it. So I have it depends on who it's with. I have a Discount Tire credit card. I don't use it anymore because it's super high interest rate. It's one of the first cards I got when I was 18, young and dumb. And so you can use that at Chevron. I get $5 worth of gas every 6 months, use my Discount Tire credit card to keep that account open. I have a Care credit card that I can use at Walgreens. I can buy some Band-Aids or some Tylenol, charge it to that Care credit card, pay it off. I do that every 6 months. I'll go buy something small, $1.99, doesn't have to be anything big. The amount of your payment doesn't matter, just that you pay the minimum payment per the agreement. So go use it, charge something for $1, pay it off, and then they will keep that account open. They just want you to use them. They just want to, like, maybe there's a chance that you're going to charge something on there and pay them interest at some point. That's all they really care about.
Excellent. Thanks, Carolyn. Another question. I'm trying to keep my wallet lighter, and I'm worried about having too many cards. Why shouldn't I close all the ones I'll never use? Isn't it less headache? And in regards to fraud?
You can, absolutely. It's easier to keep track of 3 credit cards than 30. And there's no such thing as having too many credit cards. It's what you can manage. As long as you're managing it well and paying it off in full. I have probably 20 credit cards. I have a really great spreadsheet that I can send you guys that I've documented everything. I have a little notation the last time I used it. I keep most of my credit cards at home and only keep 2 in my credit, for the ones I get 4% back on gas at City Costco. I get 6% back on my Amazon rewards. So I have those two in my my wallet. All the others stay home. And then I pull up my spreadsheet every few months. Oh, I need to go use this one. It's been 6 months and I'll go use it. What you want to pay attention to, two things. One, don't close the credit cards you've had the longest. So look at the reports at when that account was opened and notate which one, the 3 that you've had the longest, don't close them, because that's going to impact that long-term length of credit history. If you close the one you had the longest, it falls off and you're going to lower that length of history. You don't want to do that. The other thing is if you have balances on other credit cards, because 30% of my credit score, it's not just the balance limit on each individual credit card, it's also my overall balance limit. So if I've got 3 credit cards, that $1,000 balance on $1,000 limits, right? And if they're all maxed out, and I finally pay one off, and now I've got $2,000 overall balances compared to $3,000 overall balances. That's helping my credit score. I'm lowering that balance to limit availability. If I close the account that I just paid off, I am now back to $2,000 balance on $2,000 availability, and I've lowered my credit score. So if you still have balances on any of those other credit cards, I wouldn't close anything unless you really just don't want to deal with it anymore, because it will impact you in that overall balance to limit availability. If you've paid everything off and you want to close the ones that you've had the most recently that you don't use, you should be okay, because you're still going to have that length history. You can still create positive history on the ones that you have open, and you just want to hold on to those for the rest of your life.
And I think you just answered a couple of questions within that answer that came in through the chat. The first one was, how do I find out what is my oldest credit card? And then the other question was, does closing credit cards hurt your score?
Oh,
And
good answer then. I got 3 in 1 swoop.
yeah, that was great. Can you show your next slide? How do we get in touch with you to meet with you to do a one-on-one?
Financial fitness at calcoastcu.org. We have 3 coaches on staff who can help you. And we do one-on-one credit reviews, and we'll go over with you line by line everything that's going on there and give you step-by-step recommendations. We have all the templates, we have all the letters, we have everything that you need, and we'll give you that really cool creditor list that has all the information on it. It's a really great service. 1 hour, we will give you everything you need to know to improve your personal credit report. So it's a really cool service.
Excellent. Thank you. Let's go back to questions. The other one was, if you make a payment a day or 2 late because the due date comes before payday, how much does that affect your credit? And can you work with the lender to change the due date?
So it doesn't affect your score at all, because all that gets reported late to the credit bureaus is when you're 30 days past due in 30-day increments. So you could be 25 days late with the lender. You'll probably pay a fee to the lender, but we're not going to report you until you're 30 days past due, 60 days past due, 90. So it doesn't impact your score at all. You can work. There are a lot of lenders who will allow you to change your due date. We don't, because our statement cycling date is set, and we want to make it as easy for you as possible not to pay interest and pay your bills on time. So 25th is our due date on our credit cards. We always report on the 1st. So those are 2 dates for us. You can change it with other lenders. I know that I've had a couple of credit cards that I've had them move it for members. Like if you're a teacher and you get paid once a month, I want the payments to go out as soon as I get paid, so that I can make sure I'm getting those done and I'm not due on the 28th and I don't get paid for 2 days and it's late. I want to get that payment closer to where I actually get paid. So you can with some, you can't with all, but it doesn't impact your score. So that's good.
Excellent. Another question that came through about someone who's just starting their credit. How long does it take for actually show up on your credit report, and what is your score usually? What is your score when you first get that first credit account?
So it's going to vary lender to lender. With California's credit union, we consider you a mid-tier. You're like C-level. So 675 is the score that we give you if you're brand new and have no credit whatsoever. Other lenders have different guidelines. So every lender has their own different lending guidelines. That's ours. It will take about 6 months. So if you get your first credit card, you want to use payoff for 6 months. after the sixth payment is reported, you're going to have a credit score. Any loan that you get, you want to wait until 6 payments are reported, because you are going to see your score drop whenever you get any type of new loan, whether it's a car loan, personal loan, student loan, whatever. You lower the average history, you've got a new balance, that's going to impact you. Once you've got the 6th payment reported, now you're getting credit for the payment history, and you'll get 30 to 40 points back in your credit score. So kind of a guideline, when you get a new loan, wait till 6 payments are reported, find out the reporting date on the credit report, and then you can look at getting another. I always recommend having at least 3 credit cards. So when you get your first one, use pay off, use pay off, use pay off for 6 months, get 2 more credit cards. So that's something that will help you. And then you can have those credit cards for the rest of your life. Get ones that you get good points back on, so that you're getting them to pay you. My city Costco just gave me $250 for using my gas and groceries like I normally do. That pays for 1 whole month of groceries. I'm very excited about that.
Excellent. Thank you. Another question came in about when your credit card expires and you still have a balance, and you don't pay that balance because you know that a new card will be coming in with a new expiration date. Does that lower your credit score?
If you don't pay it, yeah, because whether the card is active or not has nothing to do with the balance that you owe. You borrowed that money and signed a contract and agreed to pay a minimum payment each month. So you want to make sure you're paying that minimum payment per the agreement that you signed with that lender. Whether you can charge more on that, expired credit card has nothing to do with the balance that you owe. So you definitely want to make sure that you pay the minimum payment, because you don't want to take that hit that takes 2 years to recover from score-wise and 7 years to recover from credit report-wise. So make sure you pay the minimum payment. If that's all you can do, reach out to the lender. It only takes about 7 to 10 business days to get a new card. California Coast Credit, you can actually go into one of our branches and get a card right away. So if it's a local branch, you might be able to just go in and get a new card that way, but definitely make sure that you're paying the minimum payment on time.
Excellent. Another question: how often should I request a credit line increase to increase your overall credit line?
You really don't have to. So if you are using and paying them off in full, and one of the things I will say is every year, typically you get this, hey, update your annual income. The amount of money that the lender can give you in an unsecured revolving credit card is based on a lot of different factors. One is going to be your income. We typically are not going to give you more than 2 times your gross monthly income. So if you only make $1,000 a month, you're not going to get a credit line higher than $2,000 typically. That's kind of on average. We're also going to look at your oldest trade line, right? If the oldest trade line you have, the highest limit that you have is 1,000, you're not going to get a 10,000 line of credit for someone. That's a really big jump on an unsecured amount. We're not going to take that risk on. You'll see 15, another $500, another $1,000, we might go that high, but we're not going to do that big jump. So what I did is Amazon Rewards was really good at this. Chase is really good at this, that I used and paid that off. I charged my tires, paid it off, and then I updated my annual income, and the next month they increased my limit for me. I didn't have to apply for it at all. And when they do it, it doesn't impact my score except in a positive way, because I've increased my limit availability. If I apply to increase my limit, they're going to pull my full report to look at to make sure I can afford it, that I'm doing well. And that is going to be a hard hit, and that can impact my credit score too. So if you apply for increase the limit, it's going to hurt your score, for the next month, next 12 months. If they do it automatically, then it doesn't hurt you. And if you just keep using and paying it off, they're going to keep doing that. And every year update your gross annual income, where they ask you for that usually in January, end of the year. Update your annual income, because if your income goes up, they can raise your limit for you as well. So that's another way of having them automatically do it, just by notifying them that your income has gone up.
Excellent. Thank you. A question: I have a good credit score history, but still not given low interest rates after requesting it. How can I lower my interest rate on my credit cards? So
interest rates are not good right now. So I have credit cards right now, excellent credit score. It doesn't matter. I have 26.99% on my credit cards. It's based on the lender's risk and based on what the market is doing. It's not always based on just you and how wonderful your credit is. It's looking at the overall market, how other lenders are looking at everything when they make the decision about what their rates are. We have floors that we won't go below, and we'll match sometimes, but we have to see the offer from the other lender. So it's not just based on your credit score. I said, you could be the best of the best. You could have an 850 credit score. I've never seen that in 30 years of doing this, but you could have an 850 credit score. They're still going to be limited by the guidelines that have been established by their company. So it's, you can ask. The answer is no. If you don't ask, you might as well ask, but it's not just based on your score.
And final question tonight. Maybe we have two. Will you tell us about our secured credit card and secured loan program here at CalCoast?
Yeah, so I am a big fan of secured installment loan. The secured credit card, typically I want to get a credit card. I have no credit, or I filed bankruptcy. I'm trying to rebuild my credit score for whatever reason. I can put $300, $360 in a savings account, and the credit union will hold that amount and give you a $300 limit. So we're holding $360 the entire time that you've got this credit card. You can use payoff, grow your payment history that way, and then get a regular credit card. But we're holding that money the entire time that you have it. The share secured installment loan is, I'm going to put $300 in a savings account, and then I'm going to use that as collateral as a lender, and I'm going to do a $300 fixed loan with $25 a month payments. The interest rate the entire term is like $6. We report that payment to all 3 credit bureaus, and as you make your payment, we're only holding the amount of the loan balance. So we're going to release the amount in your account as you make your payments. And there's no credit pull for the share secured installment loan. So if you are trying to build your credit or rebuild it, the share secured installment loan is my favorite way of building credit, because there's no credit pull. It's a guaranteed approval. We release the funds as you make your payment, and it gets reported to all 3 credit bureaus. Whereas the credit card, we're going to hold that. We have to put 120% down, not just the amount of the loan. We hold it for the entire time that account's open, and you have to close it anyways. So and there's a credit pull. So we're going to pull your credit to review to make sure you qualify for that. Even if the secured credit card, because it's revolving, you might still take a loss. So the share secured installment loan is my favorite way. I actually have a handout, a couple of handouts that I'm happy to send with you guys that kind of goes over the differences in both of those. Cleaning up credit history, on how to improve your credit score, and how the score is calculated. I have all these handouts, happy to send to you guys. But this kind of goes over, the share secured installment loan is my favorite way of starting credit, building credit, rebuilding credit. No hard hit recovery, low interest rate. We report to all 3, guaranteed and automatically approved. It's a great service.
All right, last question. When we get those pre-approved offers in the mail, is that a hard hit or is that a soft hit on our credit?
Those are soft hits. They are kind of seeing if you'll bite, and if you apply, then it turns into a hard hit. So you'll see on the report the hard hit inquiries, the ones that impact your score, and the soft hits. So even CalCoast, like 2 or 3 times a year, we'll try and do pre-approvals for our members, and we'll get just the score. We don't pull the whole report, so it's not a hard hit. We're just looking at the score and your overall balances. So it's a soft hit, and we'll be able to see what your credit score is at that time, but it's not the full report. So it's considered a soft hit. And that's how we see if we can increase your limits. We see if we can do pre-approvals for car loans. And most companies do that. So I know that like Chase will pull it every single month. They'll do a soft hit because they want to give you more. They want you to charge more. They want to get more interest out of you. So they're trying to review that and see, is the score going up, score going down, what's going on? So that's something to look at too.
Great, Terilyn, thank you so much.